In two earlier videos I've taken you around our plot looking at the fruit that we grow. We covered berries, cane fruit and vine fruit. So today I'm going to complete the fruit tour with our tree fruit, and at the moment we're looking at our plum trees and our green gage trees. The green gages have been planted about 13 years and the plums about 21 years. So let's have a closer look. Green gages first. We've done a little area under the green gages to sit and have a coffee when it's sunny, which has been quite pleasant. And looking at our first green gage, this is Manning's, and as you can see we have fruit. There's quite a lot of fruit on if you actually look around the tree. Green gages tend to have fruit one year and then not another, so hopefully this is the year when we get to taste the delicious fruits. And then behind we have Wren Claude, which again has fruit. It's incredible, we've got 2 green gages and 3 plums and they all have off years the same year. Then we have some more fruit. Just there. And there's some by the shed over there. Green gages are delicious. They look as though they shouldn't be, but they're really, really sweet. Let's move over to the plums. The first of our plums is Ulin's gage, called a gage, but is a plum tree, and that's got lots of fruit this year. When they're ripe they'll turn a lovely yellow colour. Oops, nearly bumped into a load of fruit then. Lots of it. In fact, the tree is just about weighted down to the ground with plums. And alongside Ulin's gage we've got Marjorie's seedling. There's Martin strumming in the background. Again, loads of plums. So much so that they're resting on top of the hibiscus. And then moving on to the final plum tree, which is a Victoria. Again, laden with plums. One of the problems with collecting plums is that the wasps love them too, so it can be quite a dangerous exercise. This year I'm going to try making a couple of waspinators which are meant to mimic wasps' nests, and the idea is that the wasps see these waspinators and decide that some other group of wasps has already colonised the area and they move on. That's the idea. We'll see whether it works or not. Now if we go back past the greenhouse, we'll end up in our apple area. Got 3 small apples which have been planted about 9 years. This first one is Fiesta, which has got lots of little apples on. No doubt someone will say I should have taken some of them off. I know that, but I can't bring myself to do it, so we just eat small apples instead. Nothing wrong with that. And then the next one is a Bramley. And then we have a Queen Cox, which isn't doing anything this year. No fruit at all. Behind us is our apple hedge that we inherited. I think originally it was intended to be a row of cordons, but when we inherited the plot they'd just gone wild, so we trim it as a hedge. We've no idea what variety it is, or they are I should say, but our guess is that these ones here are Discovery. Then we think we've got some Golden Delicious and possibly Worcester Pomain, if I can find one that I think is a Worcester Pomain. Probably those ones up there. And then these ones, we haven't a clue what this is. It hardly has any fruit anyway. But what it does get a lot of is this stuff. Woolly aphid. That's maybe a better example, or a worse example there. Usually I scrub that off with an old toothbrush. The blue tits make a good job of browsing it as well. So the other side of the apple hedge, if we push past the josterberry, is another small tree, 2 small trees in fact. This one is Egremont russet, and the next one is called Bay Marissa. It's a rather strange apple in that it's supposed to have apples which are red all the way through. Its common name I think is tickled pink. It even has very dark pink blossom, which is quite attractive. We've never had any fruit from it yet. It was planted in this position a couple of years ago. Prior to that it was in a pot, but it didn't really like it, so we planted it here and it seems to have cheered up. So this year will be the first year we get to test whether these are actually red all the way through or not. They are a dark red colour to start with. We will see. Right, let's go back past the josterberry again towards the pear bed. These were planted about the same time as the small apples, so are about 9 years old, and and this one on the end is the one that fruits the best for us. That's Invincible, and again it's loaded with fruit, and again I'm probably going to be told I should have taken some off, but I haven't. And then the next one, it's rather a strange shape. It's almost as though it would like to be a cordon. It's called Red Williams, and that usually has about half a dozen pairs, as it has this year. And then the last one is Del San, which this year doesn't seem to have any pairs at all. It's interesting that the 3 pairs have got very different growth habits. We did see a pair on this the other day, but I can't find it again. But you can see the difference in growth. Then if we move on, we have another tree which lots of people mistake for a pear, but it is actually a quince, Meachus prolific. Looking at the fruit, you can see why people think it's a pear. The fruit is pear-shaped, but it's quite furry at this stage, and it seems to stay like that for ages, to the extent where we think we're not going to have any fruit. But then in September, all of a sudden, these little fruits put on a growth spurt, and they get to be about the size of a large pear. The fur disappears and they become a yellow colour. And then as late as possible, sometimes in October, we pick them. Besides having delicious fruit, the quince also has some really lovely autumn colour. The flowers are very pretty too. And then if we move over here, we have our poor cherry tree. I call it a poor cherry tree because it never manages to produce any cherries, mainly because the wood pigeons devastate it. They don't just take any cherries that might have developed, but they actually strip the leaves, which have actually grown again now. Well, it's grown some new leaves anyway. It's a bit big to net, so this year we intend to sort of trim it back to a size that maybe we can net in future years. And then behind we have a Kentish cob, which has 1 or 2 cob nuts. There's even more up there. I don't know if you can see them up there. Quite a few. Well, that's it. That's all our fruit now. Hope you've enjoyed having a look at it. We're going to enjoy eating it, I hope. And I'll probably see you later.